David Carr was the editor of the New York Times. That's what the actual editor of the Times, Dean Baquet, said this week. In title, David was the newspaper's Monday media columnist. But he was so much more than that. He was an ambassador for the Times. He was the embodiment of its values. And beyond just the Times, he was a cheerleader for good journalism and a coach for young people, and the announcer in the booth, somehow able to explain every play and decipher what is happening to the media industry. I was so lucky to have him as a coach. Jake Tapper was lucky to have him as a coach too, and Jake said it so well on Friday. He said David was a one-person journalism school. Allow me to speak from the heart for a moment. My dad died 14 years ago this week, and since then, David has been the closest thing I've had to a dad. Here we are with our wives. Let me put the picture on screen at our wedding, my wedding last year. David was so much fun at a party. He stayed till the very end. He was more fun sober than the rest of us were drunk. And now here's the part I haven't wanted to say. David died on Thursday at the age of 58 after collapsing in the newsroom at the Times. And I'm angry. Not at David. I'm angry at whatever took him from us. Lung cancer, apparently. I'm angry because he had so much more to tell us. He had so much more to teach us. He was imperfect, and he would be the first to say so. And somehow that made him all the more perfect. I want to tell you what he taught me, because at the Times, he taught me to report with curiosity, to make phone calls, and to keep calling, and to be prepared for those calls to change my mind. And he taught me to write with every muscle in my body, to pour it out onto the page, to write with confidence, to live with confidence and with joy and with humor and with passion and with heart. With David's columns explaining the media revolution, you could be a media mogul or just a 21-year-old kid just trying to get your first big break. No matter who you were, you knew you weren't alone. We needed him. I needed him. And earlier, another friend of David's was here, CNN's Anthony Bourdain.
David interviewed me many years back. We bonded right away. I think we both made it through drug addiction. So there was that shared experience right away. And I think that's a part of what made David special also. Here's a guy who had really, as a journalist, had to be a professional cynic.
Right. Right.
Who was fully aware of how ugly life can be and how ugly his own behavior could be, who looked into the abyss, and yet who still believed in things, who really ferociously believed in things, and as there are many examples of this, would leap to the defense of those things that he believed in.
Such an optimist, really.
And I think that's why he was such an inspiring figure to so many people. One of the reasons, it's that in spite of everything, this was a guy who still believed in things, who was such a ferocious advocate for the things that he felt mattered. And one of the things he felt mattered was the real importance of words, properly used, and print journalism.
Yeah. He loved the New York Times more than anybody I know. Let me play a soundbite from the documentary that he and I were in a few years ago called Page One. This was taped toward the end of the documentary's production because he had started making a joke about me as this young kid at the New York Times. And here's what he said.
Can't get over the feeling that Brian Stelter was a robot assembled to destroy me. I still had a year left.
I mean, if I was a robot, I failed. Not only did he grew stronger, really, over time. I feel like he grew from the young people he surrounded himself with and who he mentored, and learned from us the way we learned from him. And that's something you don't always see in newspaper newsrooms.
Here was a guy coming from anyone else, that kind of ringing defense of print journalism in general and the Times in particular might seem quaint. But from David Carr, it was absolutely convincing. He could single-handedly reinvigorate and re-inspire, I think, even the most cynical person. And it was just a pleasure being around him. It was just you really kind of just, I'm sorry if that words fail me.
They've been failing me ever since Thursday night, and I guess I just wonder. I find myself wondering what we can all learn from him as a storyteller. You know, is there? Do you think there's a takeaway for all of us from him?
that there are things worth believing in, and that words really do matter. That there's stuff still worth believing in. Maybe even that there's, you know, real good and evil in this world.
He was helping to guide us all throughout this turbulent time, and I just don't know what we're going to do without him. But thanks for talking with me this morning.
Thank you, I'm honored.
I will carry a piece of David with me for the rest of my life.